Om Sahanavavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll continue our journey. Mundaka Upanishad. We just started, right? What is the meaning of Mundaka? To clean our head, basically to clean our mind and start our journey. Very significantly, this is part of Atharva Upanishad. From today, Pitru Paksh is starting, and per Rigveda, 10th Mandal, and I think 14th Suktam is attributed to Yamadev and Pitrugana, and per many of those mantras in that sukta, Atharva, Angira and Bhrugu, they are the highest in the Pitrugana. They are the first, and Atharva Veda is from Atharva Rishi, and from that lineage, Atharva, Angira and Bhrugu. And this Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, is part of Atharva Veda. So it's very significant, very important, because today is very significant day. Pitru Shraddh starting, Pitru Paksha starting. So it's matching all those. Maybe a coincidence. Today is blood moon too, lunar eclipse. And probably eclipse, I think the first Veda already started. So we are already part of that, so this is very auspicious sign, I would say. So from Brahma, this knowledge was given to Atharva, from Atharva to Angirushi, and from Angirushi this Brahma Vidya to Bharadwaja. No, from Angi to Satyavaha, who was son of Bharadwaja, so who was Bharadwaja in essence. And from Bharadwaja it was to Angiras. So Angirushi and Angiras both are different. So now third mantra, third shloka. Shaunako ha vai mahashalo angirasam vidhivadupasannaha papracha kasminnu bhagavo vijñate sarvamidam vijñatam bhavatiti. Shaunaka, the great householder, approached Angiras in the proper manner and asked him, O venerable one, what is that, knowing which everything else becomes known? So Shaunaka Rishi, he approached Angiras, asked him to be his guru, to know this knowledge, this Brahma Vidya. And here the word used is proper manner. Vidhivat. Vidhivat meaning how do you approach your guru, or how do you approach someone and ask him to be his disciple. That proper method in the older times was take the durva grass, or it is called samid. You can also take some samid, some branch or some wooden pieces with you, hold in palms and offer them. Because in those times, all the gurus or acharyas or rishis, they were all into yajnas, havana, homa. So for that, this is like a symbolic, a gesture, that I am offering you something for your yajna. Now accept me as your disciple. So that was the vidhi. And now the vidhi is fill up the form, pay the money and enter. So things change. And then he is asking, what is that, knowing which everything else becomes known? When we were very young, we used to learn the digits, the numerals. From that, we started learning the operations, addition, subtraction, then division, multiplication. Then came algebra and various different equations and manipulations in mathematics. As you keep going higher and higher, maybe tensor analysis, matrix, calculus, all those different branches. So it keeps growing, and even in those branches, many new theories develop. It keeps growing ever. There is no end. If you think you know mathematics, no, there is no end. It keeps growing, evolving. But here, so we learn from the very base and then grow our stature. We grow our understanding. We evolve. Here, they start from, we start from bottom up, they start from top to bottom. Shaunak Rishi, he is asking, I want to know something, after knowing which everything can be known. So what is that? Teach me that. And that is Brahma, because Brahma is ultimate, that knowledge, Brahma Vidya. So once I know that, everything else will be known. Now you can question, how is it possible? If I know Brahma, will I be able to solve the mathematics for black hole? We can question, right? If knowing Brahma gives us all the knowledge, where is the example? Where is the proof? Srinivasa Ramanujan. What he used to do, he did not methodically study mathematics like, higher mathematics and all that. What he used to do, he used to pray Mahalakshmi. I forgot a particular form that he used to worship, or his lineage. He used to meditate and pray and do all the Vidhivat puja to Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi always came to his dream or in his meditation and gave him all these mathematical equations. He wrote down those equations, and that became, actually I'm talking about 1910 or around that time. So he wrote down everything. He didn't know the proof of those equations, but Mahalakshmi gave him all those equations. He took it to Professor Hardy. I think it's very well known, that incident is very well known. It is even captured in a movie called A Man Who Knew Infinity. Yes, it is on Ramanujan, his real life, so to speak. So Professor Hardy looked at all those equations, even publicized in his circle and all that. We are talking about 1910. Ramanujan passed away very young age. I think 1915, 18, I'm not sure. Whatever equations he gave, those were very instrumental in developing black hole theory 20 years later. So something he knew beyond infinity, I would say, came into reality in the theory, in mathematics or physics after 20 years. And how did he got that? He did not develop, he saw those equations in Mahalakshmi. And that's why it is very important. If we know Brahma truly, meaning we have Atma Sakshatkar, we know, we come in contact with Brahma one on one, then whatever is known or whatever is supposed to be known will be known, will be revealed. It becomes our wish, what we want to know, once we know Brahma. And that's why it's a top bottom approach. Even Bhagavad Gita, Adhyaya 13th or 15th, they talk about upside down Ashwatha Vruksh. They talk about a tree which has roots upwards, branches downwards, and every branch has multiple leaves. Every leaf is Veda mantra, is what Bhagavad Gita says. So if we know that root, we know everything, because root is ultimately the nourisher, the supplier of all the knowledge. So that is Brahma. If we know that, we'll know everything. You can question, will I be able to know the recipe for that perfect dish? Probably yes. We have to experiment.
But that's the ultimate goal.
That's the ultimate goal.
But then what else is remaining to know if you know Brahman? Right?
And that's why it is very important to know what those saptarshis or those rishis, what have they done. If we look at Vedavyasa, Vedavyasa, he divided Vedas into 4 divisions, right? He created Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda. He created 18 Puranas out of the knowledge of Vedas. Just take one mantra out of Veda and create the whole Purana. That was his quality. So after knowing Brahma, he could do all that. Some rishis, they took up Dhanurveda, right? Some rishi took Ayurveda, Dhanvantari, we know, and Patanjali, Ashtanga Yoga. So knowing Brahma, whatever afterwards we choose, or whatever Brahma chooses us to do, it's the other way also. Whether we choose ourselves, it is our free will, or that is just a notion. It is really not free will, but maybe Brahma wants us or wants to express through us in a particular direction. All of us, we have different qualities, right? We have different qualities, skills. We know our skill probably to use in our worldly or day-to-day life to earn money and to other things, name, fame, whatever. But when Brahma expresses through us, that skill also becomes Brahma. So, like Ramanujan, whatever equations he wrote down from Ma Lakshmi, received from Ma Lakshmi, they became theory of black holes. And why it was important? Because, again, one more important thing, we know 27 nakshatras, right? There are 27 nakshatras. One nakshatra, its name is Mula or root nakshatra or Mula. Why is it called Mula? Mula is root, right? And in that nakshatra, from Earth, if we look at that nakshatra, it takes us to the center of our galaxy, because that is our root, that is our Mula. If we look at Mrugashira, exactly opposite. Mrugashira is head, right? So head is in this direction, Mula is in this direction, and that's how nakshatra names were chosen. So if we knew black hole in 1930s, how many things we have developed afterwards. Now we know what is happening in the center of the galaxy and how it affects us, right? We know all this science now. So the man who knew infinity, meaning he crossed the boundary of human imagination, I would say. Every physical theory was first imagination, and then the equations were written, right? The theories were developed. But somebody saw it as dream, somebody saw it as a thought process, developed that theory, and it ultimately became something we know today. So what he saw, Brahma expressed in that direction because he was meant to do that. So let's say we do Brahma or Atma Sakshatkar, that will guide us for the next step, how we can help humanities, right? Other humans, other fellow, because we all are, even if you accept or not, even if our practices are different, but ultimately we are part of the same expression, the same reality. We look different, but ultimately we are one. We forget about our reality, that's a different story. But Brahma will make sure that once we know Brahma, that Vidya will take us into direction which will help humanity. And that's how Rishis wrote all this. They were enlightened. They did not have anything left in life. So what was the purpose? Right? And that's why Shaunaka, he is asking, I want to know something after knowing which nothing else left. Fourth shloka. Tasmai sa hovacha dve vidye veditavye iti hasma yad brahma vido vadanti para chaiva para cha. He, meaning Angiras, said to him, those who know Brahma say there are two types of knowledge. para and apara. So now there is a division. Brahma Vidya is the topmost, but Brahma Vidya is expressed in two different manners. One is para, the other is apara. Now what is para? Bhagavad Gita says Panch Mahabhuta: Prithvi, Agni, Jal, Vayu, Akash, Man, Buddhi, Ahankar. That is Ashtadha Para Prakriti. Jiva. Then what is remaining? All the jivas, soul. So that's para. So anything that is related to Panch Mahabhuta and Mana Buddhi Ahankara, that is Paravidya, meaning mathematics, physics, geography, history, grammar, anything we learn in today's schools and universities, whatever we learn there, that is Paravidya. Now, how can it be a Brahma Vidya? Right? We can question. I studied up to undergrad, you studied up to masters, somebody did PhD, but it is not the end of that Para Vidya, right? Let's say I study physics, bachelor's level, master's level, then at PhD level I select one particular theme or subject out of physics and do PhD in that. Somebody can do double PhD, somebody can do even super PhD, but that knowledge is in one particular direction, one particular strand, and that fellow or man or woman would master that. But what about the rest of the things? That is still para prakriti. It is endless, it is infinite. We cannot master all of that, and it is not limited at all. Once you keep learning, you just keep going, there is no end. So para prakriti ultimately leads to Brahma Vidya. Apara prakriti, I'm using wrong words. Para is jiva, so what is related to jiva, that is para vidya. What is related to physical in nature, the 8 elements, the Panchamahabhuta, Mana Buddhi Ahankara, that is apara. Apara meaning what is not para, what is not beyond. So apara vidya is what we learn in schools and universities today, and para vidya is what Ashtanga Yoga is all about. It starts with yama, right? Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So Ashtanga Yoga slowly takes us into that direction, that is Paravidya. Now which one is better? Aparavidya. Do we see any example who excelled in Aparavidya and reached Brahma? Probably not. Maybe not in today's world. Maybe in older times, yes. But now what is important is to learn Paravidya, Ashtanga Yoga. That ultimately takes us to Brahma. In short time span, relatively yes. There are many different paths, right? We talked about, if we look at Bhagavad Gita, there are multiple pathways, at least 4: Dhyan, Karma, Kriya, and Bhakti. Now all can lead to D, all can lead to Brahma. But what is Raj Vidya? Raj Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. There is adhyaya devoted to all these in Bhagavad Gita. It says that combine all 4. Don't only stick to just one. Combine everything. Jnana, Karma, Kriya, and Bhakti. If you combine all, then you accelerate your sadhana. Then attaining Brahma is accelerated. So we should follow that. And Ashtanga Yoga, it has all the aspects of that, and it is very simple to follow. If we compare studying mathematics or physics at undergrad level versus following Ashtanga Yoga is relatively simple. Only thing missing from our part is persistence. If we can achieve that, if we can regularly follow all that, Brahma is not far away, because it is within. We always say Brahma, like upar wala, but it's not upar, it's within, right?
Shilakji,
Yes.
two questions.
Yes.
So para is the one which has life. Apara is the one without
Which-
life. We can simplify it like that.
Yeah. Now, here is a fine line. Being sentient, chaitanya, right? Chetana, consciousness. That is part of apara prakriti, mana buddhi ahankara. So consciousness is not para, it is not life. It is beyond life. I mean, life is beyond consciousness, is what I'm trying to say.
So I didn't understand that.
So when we talk about a wooden piece versus a human, what is the difference? Wooden piece has all the different elements, right? Solid, liquid, fire, meaning plasma, space. It has its own mind, it has its own intellect, it has its ahankara, meaning the piece of wood is different from us, so it has ahankara. Same thing, human body has all those attributes, but what makes human body different from that wooden piece is the jiva, right? Now jiva does not mean just the consciousness, because once a matter is in plasma state, that exhibits something similar to consciousness, I would say. Any element that is in plasma state acts like it has grown its brain. It knows how to react, it knows how to handle environment around it. So it becomes like conscious, but it is not life. It is still in the upper land. So that is the distinction I want to say. But simply, yes, we can say life versus lifeless. That is, life is para, lifeless is apara. Yes.
So life would be one which has Atman in it.
Atma, right. Atma with Maya, right? So Atma has a sheath of Maya, Triguna. So Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic, those three attributes. So those three attributes are part of soul, Atma. Atma is not soul, but soul is Jiva, which has Maya. So up to that level, it is life. Yes.
The sheet is what the karma is bound with.
Karma is beyond that. Karma is, because of those three attributes, there is karma.
No, the baggage that goes from life cycle to life cycle.
Life cycle is life
That is
cycle.
in the carried.
It is carried like in Bhagavad Gita. It is said that like there is fragrance somewhere, right? Let's say there is a flower in this corner, and if a breeze comes from that corner to all of us, right? So that fragrance from that corner reaches all of us. Similarly, Atma, when leaves the body, goes to the new body, it gets those attributes, it carries those karmas along with it. Now how? Maybe the answer is in universal mind, mana. So we still don't understand that, how when there is no body, how there can be mind, and mind for a particular Atma, how is it possible? We don't understand that yet, but that's how that Atma carries the mind, the universal mind, and that mind has storage of all past karmas, right? Sanchita karma, and takes to the next body.
So that has nothing to do with the sheath, the Maya.
No, karma is because of the sheath, because of Maya.
Okay.
If there is no Maya, there won't be any karma, and that's why we say that Parabrahma is beyond karma, because Maya is within Paramatma, or Maya is because of Paramatma, but Paramatma is not in Maya, and that's why that is akarmak. It doesn't have any karma. There is karma because there is Maya, and that's why always pray Maya first, so that we can overcome those three qualities, and at least try to understand what is beyond that. Otherwise we'll be entangled into that. Maya will not let us cross.
Pray Maya matlab, please exactly does that.
Okay, so
What you were digressing
No, no, no. It is very important. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratyaya, meaning nobody can cross my Maya. That is not possible, is what Sri Krishna says. But in the same chapter, Sri Krishna says, just remember me, Jnana, Karma, Kriya and Bhakti. All these offer to me. I'll take care of you. I'll let you cross. So that's where the answer. So when I say pray to Maya, meaning pray to God or Paramatma who has that Maya. Now, when we know all these stories like from Dashavatar, when Varaha Avatar, Bhagavan Vishnu came into that avatar, took the form of a boar, fought with Hiranyakashipu, Prithvi उद्धार हो गया. बाद में what he did, we don't know, right? But in Purana it is said that after killing Hiranyakashipu, after stabilizing earth, Varaha got married to a Varahi, had many children, and he was happy in that life, living in a mud. So all the gods like Indra and other gods got together. What is happening to Prabhu? What is he doing? So now ultimately, who is going to talk to Vishnu? Shiva. Nobody else has capacity, right? So they went to Shankara, asked him, do something. Prabhu is not coming back. He is happy with that Vara life. So then Shankar went there and kind of there was some altercation, and then Shankara made him realize, Prabhu, you are in your Maya, come out. So this is what happens, because Maya is very, very hard to cross. Now we can question, Maya comes from Prabhu, then how Prabhu got entangled, right? It's because there are different aspects. In the same Purana, we can say that the Parabrahma is akarmak, does not have any qualities, does not have any attributes. But that Parabrahma had a sankalpa. Sankalpa meaning some wave, some taranga got into him, not him or her, we don't know, right? Got into Parabrahma. Because of that taranga, this world is created. And in taranga, God entered through that power, that Shakti of Sankalpa, and became entangled into every particle of the creation. So Vishnu comes from that realm, not from Parabrahma realm, and that's why Vishnu is entangled in, when takes avatara, is entangled in Maya. Krishna, he had to leave body, right? Rama, everybody had to leave body except Parshurama. Ultimately he will also, but all had to leave the body, even though they were Vishnu, Narayan, because they come from our realm, the realm of Brahma, not Parabrahma. They come from the realm of Brahma. They are still entangled in Maya. It's like ocean water. Like ocean is very big. There is no end. In our perspective, there is no end to ocean, that water. But that water, when comes in a narrow strait, it is kind of limited in that particular area. Even though it is part of the great ocean, but in that strait, that area, it is limited and it has different attributes. So we can imagine that. And compare that with Vishnu, that Avatara and Parabrahma. So that is possible.
But this whole Puranas are just, it's not Itihasa, right? Puranas are...
I challenge that.
Okay.
What is it?
There's a big fight going on, right?
Yes. Because, see, these are all stories. You see magic, this happened, that happened. I mean, our mind cannot accept that. Given any, I mean, all these Puranas, they are poems, right? They have chanda, meter, and everything. So they are poems. They are not like prose. So it is like some poet exaggerated a particular story and represented it such a way that we can remember easily. If we look at Purana, you don't see any connection between those stories and Rigveda, right? But very much it is. Everything comes from Vedas. Veda, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, Aranyaka, Bhagavad Gita, Purana, I mean Itihasa, everything is, the same root is Veda. So many of those stories, they are represented such a way that they are exaggerated. We start thinking about it. We question, is it possible? And then we know, oh, because they wanted to say this, they created this story. So let's take one example, because Itihasa, Purana is not Itihas. I challenge that. Why? Because there is a story about Chakshush Manvantar. When Devi Bhagavata Puran starts, they talk about something happened at Raivatak Parvat. What happened was, this is how it is written, that on Raivatak Parvat, Rohini Nakshatra fell. Right? This is the sentence, these are the words. On Raivatak Parvat, Rohini Nakshatra fell. Can we accept that? A nakshatra, a constellation made of stars, can it fall? No, right? But if we try to understand, and this is even astroarchaeology, they have proven that some 30 to 40,000 years ago, Raivatak Parvat is in Indonesia, Malaysia, that region. So Rohini Nakshatra, so from that area, if we are in India, Bharatvarsh, and if we are looking at a time frame when Rohini Nakshatra would rise, right? Meaning from Bharata to that land, which would be Indonesia or Malaysia. So Rohini Nakshatra fell, meaning some meteorite fell on that Parvat, on that region. So even though this katha is very exaggerated, those words we cannot accept, seems magical, we just deny, but there is a truth, there is a itihas behind that. So
same thing, there's a some WhatsApp chatter happening in one of my groups. It's about the Sheshnag
right,
holding the earth.
right,
And there was a movie also, they lampooned it. And they said, no, it's the sun is at the center and the earth revolves around it, and
right,
gravity works. But if you see, that's not the right picture actually, because the sun is moving,
right,
and when the earth moves, it also kind of lags behind. And
yes, yes,
catches
it is
up.
lagging,
So
yes,
it's like a coiled snake.
exactly, exactly,
And so you'd say, okay, how would they know, right?
right,
But actually, if you look at the synodal versus sidereal placement,
correct,
you can always see the sun is moving
exactly,
with respect
exactly,
to the background.
right, very true,
So you can see that it's moving like a snake.
right, correct,
And it can coil around. So they actually were doing this mathematics. So they couldn't disprove it. So they had to make a story for it, right?
correct, correct, yes,
So that's the reason, Puranas are never saying any untruth.
correct,
They're always telling
correct,
their truth. Maybe
correct,
it might be misguided or whatever.
exactly, exactly, very good example, Kaustubhai. So such are the examples, and we kind of start decoding it now with our modern words, modern theories, modern perspectives. Now we can validate, okay, this was said and it was true, and there is some truth behind it, there is some itihas behind it, and we have to accept at the face value. One example very much like that, they did not have TV, they did not have smartphones, still they had developed mind, so they could look up and could observe what is happening around the years and what happens even in the longer terms, because they had lineages. Let's say one guru, one gotra, all the disciples, all the children of that Rishi were devoted to a particular branch, and that branch from generations to generations they carried forward. They noted down all the not noted down, but they remembered all the observations, and they created these stories so that they can remember. This was said by our Pitru, and this is what is happening right now. We know we have multiple calendars, right? Gregorian, which we widely use. Then there is Vikram Samvat, there is Shak Samvat, all that. The oldest we know Vikram Samvat for Bharatvarsh. But in Kashmir, there is a tradition of following Saptarshi Samvat. And Saptarshi Samvat is based on when the particular nakshatra is when in the position of Dhruva Tara, the Polaris, it changes its direction because of wobbling of the earth. So it takes some 27,000 years to wobble around, complete the cycle, the circle. So every nakshatra is in contact with that particular Polaris every 100 years. So this Saptarshi Samvat follows that tradition, and in Kashmir it is accepted. Kashmiri Pandits and all, they follow that, and current year for them is 8701. So this is the oldest known calendar, I would say. 8701 is what the Kashmiris in the Saptarshi tradition they consider it.
One more point about that
Wobbling,
right?
right.
It's also the name over there is Sankarsha.
Sankarsha,
If you go
right.
to Sanskrit dictionary, it says attraction.
Right.
So that if you see gravity, right, people, everyone assumes
Right.
gravity is a force. It's not a force. It's a phenomenon. It's
Right.
something that you experience.
Correct.
If you see the previous documentary, it explains like how it actually works.
Right.
It's because of the circular motion. Basically, it's in the space time continuum there is a hole, right, like
Right.
saying,
Sun.
and because of
Sun.
the sun is
Right.
so heavy,
Correct.
it's creating a hole, and because
Correct.
of that, Earth is kind of trapped like when you drop a penny around
Right.
that circle, right?
It's
the mall,
falling down.
Yeah, it's falling
Yeah.
towards it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that movement, it looks like
Right.
a snake, and that is basically causing the attraction,
Correct.
which is called gravity, and that's what it's called Sankarshan in the same.
Sankarsha. Yes.
same,
Exactly. Exactly.
Passage.
Right.
So, sure, Puranas are a little bit exaggerated. They are like stories and they are like magical.
Right.
But there might be truth, and if you
Indeed.
try to look, if you try to understand it, there might be truth.
Very true. Very true. And see, all of us, maybe we followed the tradition or not, but at the time of our marriage, we are asked to look at Vasishtha and Arundhati, right? Need to pray. Why? Because they are twin star systems. They are twin stars, and they rotate not one star around the other, they rotate around each other. So they are equal in stature. So these are all observations, and they created stories out of it. So very rightly. So now onwards, we must not deny any story as just a story or magic. We must try to decode it. You will be surprised. In Rigveda, there are many stories like this. In the earlier suktas, first 3 mandalas or something, which were created maybe 14,000 years back. How do we know? Because there are stories like that in Rigveda also, that Indra went into north direction with the help of a dog of paradise, Sarma. He took out cows from a deep cave and established sun in its current position. So this is like a story, like Indra went into north with the help of Sarma, which lives in paradise and in north direction, and the cows were hidden in the caves, and then he took out by killing Vrutra, the Rakshasa, Asur, and established sun in the east direction. So if you look at 12 to 14,000 years back, our geography, it was all dark. It was a worldwide ice age. There was no sun. Everything was covered in dark slumber. So cows represent sun rays. If we read Rigveda, it is, I mean, if you read multiple suktas, you will right away know that the cows and horses, go and ashwa, they are the sun rays, two powers of sun rays. One which nourishes, go, guy, cow. One which gives power, energy, that is ashwa. So now Indra is the power in the clouds, right? The lightning and thunderbolt and all that. So that started happening, and then ultimately the cloud burst. The cows came out of the caves, the dark caves, and sun started shining again. And that happened 12 to 14,000 years ago. So these are the stories written in Rigveda. So always don't deny any of the stories in Purana. Try to decode it, I would say. And the new generation is very well equipped with it, right? You study engineering, you know many of those theories, so it will help for sure.
There is no Indra, right? It's the metaphor.
It's a metaphor, yes. If we look at atom has multiple forces at play. One which binds, right, and one which repels. So the energy that binds, but such a way that when electron moves from kaksha to kaksha, it emits light or it emits energy, whether it is a visible light or not, but it emits energy. So that is like thunderbolt. So that energy, that force that binds atom together, that is Indra. And in Rigveda also it is written that sun shines because sun gets energy from Indra. This is what is written. So there is some atomic process happening in sun. Because of that, the sun gives light. So these are all things. Indra, at one place Indra is this atomic power, at the other place Indra is something in the clouds which generates this water cycle. So that is also Indra. And interestingly, in two of the mantras I found in Rigveda, these are the words used. Indra killed Asura named Krishna at the bank of river Yamuna. There are two mantras in Rigveda. This is what is written. Indra killed Asura named Krishna at the bank of river Yamuna. Now we know the rivers, right? The Govardhandhari, Sri Krishna, and Krishna fought against Indra. Indra started cloudburst and all what not, and ultimately Krishna was victorious, and Indra had to give in. But Rigveda talks about this. So who was that Krishna and who was that Yamuna? Right? These are the questions. In the context those mantras are given, they are talking about the times way before Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna's time was 5,000 years back. But these are the suktas or mantras where these two mantras are. They talk about time frame around 9-10,000 years. Once everything was settled, the civilization started again in the right direction. And Vaivasvat Manu, our Manvantara, it already started. And during those times, this is what Indra did. So again, Krishna is darkness, right? Krishna is darkness. And that darkness was removed. I mean, I'm just taking the linguistic meaning of Krishna. Krishna is dark. So that darkness was removed by Indra. Same story. Indra and Sarma, and taking out cows from the caves and establishing sun. So again, it's the same story. So because of the lineage, Rishis remembered this event, the past events, and they carried forward in different words. And that's why the Rishis who used to live at Yamuna river, They were the ones who carried this knowledge, and because they used to live at Yamuna, and Krishna, that word, the meaning of that is darkness. So Krishna was Asur also, I mean, in a term. So these are different facts or different stories which we'll have to use in certain context. If we lose the context, we lose the meaning. Somebody out of context takes these two mantras and say, oh, Rigveda denied Sri Krishna being God. Rigveda labeled Sri Krishna as Asur. And Rigveda labeled this war between Indra and Krishna, and it was won by Indra. So out of context you can say anything. Okay, next shloka 5. Tatra para Rugvedo Yajurvedah Samavedo Atharvavedah Shiksha Kalpo Vyakaranam Niruktam Chando Jyotishamiti Atha Parayaya Tadakshara Madhigamyate. So what we talked about, what comes out of Apara, of these, Apara consists of Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. There's Nirukta, which is the study of dictionary. Then there is grammar, Vyakarana, etymology, poetry, astrology, Jyotish, and such. So these are all divisions of Aparavidya, like our physics, chemistry, biology, all these branches. And Para is that through which Akshara, imperishable, or Avyaya is attained. So that is any sadhana we do, that is Paravidya. I think it's about time. So there used, I mean, we are talking about those times when this Mundaka Upanishad was written. All the Vedas are considered Aparavidya. But is it right? This is the words of a Rishi. But I differ in my views. Even though Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samveda, they talk about Yajna Vidhi, Havana, Homa, this and that, Ashwamedha, Yagna, or Stoma, and all that. Even though those are all very physical in nature, very much of our world, ultimately they are for liberation. They are liberation of our mind, they are liberation of our understanding. So they lead us to the ultimate, because that's what their goal is. So Rigveda in its worldly meanings, if you try to interpret those mantras in just lights of language, then yes, it's Aparavidya. But if you try to go beyond that, if you try to understand the subtlety, or if you try to decode what they are trying to say, that becomes Paravidya. But in the context of this division, Vedas are Apara, because they do not directly say, okay, do this and you'll achieve Brahma. They don't say that. They prescribe, okay, this is how you pray to Pitrus, this is how you pray to Indra, this is how you pray to Soma, and these are the steps for Soma Vidhi or Soma Yaga. So these are the steps mentioned, and they are all for our worldly gain or worldly meaning, and within the realm of Apara. But ultimately they lead us to very next, indirectly, and that's why they are not Para. That's why I could say that. So we can end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.